fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything else. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
It's the second week of what has already proved to be a scintillating and controversial series, the 360 Power Series by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. This is round 2 of the series, the Super F Series Spares Autumn Nationals from Volusia Speedway Park. Super F Series Spares provides parts and accessories for Ford F Series trucks, and they've been doing it for over 25 years. If you're in Victoria or Queensland and you need some quality parts for your Ford F-Series truck, they are the place to go. My name is Reese Gardiner. Joining me in the commentary box for SimSpeed TV, Cameron Dance and Jay Kennedy on the cameras. Cam, round 2 of the series, we saw a bit of a blow-up between Tim Ryan and Alex Bergeron at the very end. Tim Ryan coming out on top, though, but a little bit of biffo coming into round 2.
Yeah, certainly. It's been an interesting start to the season so far, and it's only going to make things even better with stuff like rivalries and drama and all sorts of stuff going on. So, yeah, really looking forward to Night Volusia. It always puts on really good racing. So, yeah, bring it on.
Bring it on indeed. Speaking of the track, as we take a look at it in this practice session before the event goes off proper, this is a very interesting circuit here at Volusia Speedway Park. It's not a perfect oval, half a mile in length, of course, a clay surface, but a very lumpy D shape this oval takes. It's very fast, but there's varying lines through the corners, and once the groove starts getting worked in, you have to get up to the top, and there's not much room up there.
Yeah, there certainly is, and especially when that bottom side slicks off, like you said, and you start to get really close to that outside wall to the point where you sort of start to be playing a bit of Russian roulette with that outside wall, and if you just are a millimeter too far out, you're gonna be ending your race. So, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see who does end up in the fence and up and over, and who ends up being able to run the edge of the wall.
Yeah, well, fortunately, unlike Lernerville last week, there actually is a wall to catch you if you push too hard. These are the championship standings after the Tie Designs 40-lap feud at Lernerville. Tim Ryan leading the standings after winning the feature. Josh Harm and Alex Bergeron completing the top 3 in the standings, and only one round completed, if I can get my words out. But overall, we've still got a bit to go before we can start talking about close gaps between these drivers.
Yeah, most certainly. And there's a lot of points on the line as well with 11 rounds to go, including tonight. So, yeah, it's really going to be all about just getting those points, making sure you finish races and all that sort of stuff. It is a long season, so anything can and probably will happen, as we saw at round 1. But, yeah, it's really just all about collecting points at the end of the day in these early stages to set yourself up for a run at the championship later on.
Let's have a bit of a chat about the event format here tonight. There's a couple of things that that have been thrown out of the book for this one here at Volusia. We've got 4 or 5 heats, depending on how many cars turn up for this round. 12 cars max, 8 laps per heat, but the top 8 in every heat will be inverted. So if you run a time good enough in qualifying to start on pole in your heat, you are not going to start there.
No, you won't, and it's an interesting format, having experienced it last year in the majors, Eldora, Kings Royal. So yeah, it's really going to test the quicker drivers who do end up putting a really quick time in and ending up at the top of the time chute, as they're going to have their work cut out for them later on when they end up having that invert. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Really looking forward to it, and should put on some awesome racing.
Yeah, certainly in the heats, but the alphabet, the D main, C main, and B main, 10, 12, and 14 laps, respectively. After that, there is the pole dash. Now, this depends on a couple of things. If there ends up being 4 heats, it's going to be 1 8-car dash with all of the heat winners, 6 laps in length. If there are 5 heats, there will be 2 dashes, each of 4 laps. The first dash will have everyone who finished second place in the heats, and Dash A will have all the heat winners plus the winner of Dash B. Sounds a bit complicated when you explain it verbally, but when we get into the nitty-gritty of it and this event gets underway, it will be quite easy to understand. And the first cars are now out on track for this round of the series. And you see how these drivers are tackling this circuit. It's quite clean here at the very start of this session, but that group's going to come in very, very soon. These cars, only 360 cubic inches. They're not quite as powerful as the 410 sprint cars you see in the World of Outlaws Championship, but they are very raceable. They put enough power down to the ground to make Volusia an adventure.
Yeah, they certainly do, and you can already see the loose bit dirt that's been thrown up from everybody pretty much running the bottom of the racetrack at the moment. And I did also just see before Alex Bergeron and also Tim Ryan getting into each other in the practice session just now. So still the rivalry continues, and it's only going to get better from here.
Oh dear, yeah, of course. If you missed round 1, Alex Bergeron almost taking Tim Ryan out of contention in the dying stages of the feature with some rear-end contact in turn 4. That's something that happened between Bergeron and Ryan in the iRacing World of Outlaws Sprintcar World Championship, which they are both title winners of. So they got quite a bit of form, quite a bit of history behind them, and they're certainly not opposed to feeding each other a wheel every so often.
Yeah, they're definitely probably not the best of friends in the pit lane, and they're definitely not probably the best of friends on track, as we've found out last week. So yeah, it's one of those rivalries that you look at and just go, it's awesome to watch. You sort of can compare it to the likes of Senna and Prost or Hunt and Lauder and those sort of things, sort of rivalries. It's really, really cool to watch, really entertaining, and it's gonna only further cement itself as being a really good rivalry as the races and season goes on.
Yeah, we'll see if it starts out as Senna and Prost and turns into Murphy and Ambrose. We'll see about that. But Bergeron running well enough for 6th place at the moment. We see an onboard view from his perspective, and you see the kind of lines that people will try and take here around Volusia. As you said, Cam, the bottom, definitely the way to go right at the very start, but you're already seeing a bit of a slick groove forming in turns 1 and 2, and Bergeron demonstrating that that curved back stretch, you can potentially gain time by running tight there, but it messes up your entry into 3 and 4.
Yeah, it certainly does. Although when it does get slick to a certain specific amount and extent, you can sort of use a slightly odd line that you wouldn't usually use. It's what we call the slide line. Where you sort of go in as if you were doing a slide job, going low, and then sort of drive it out wide in the second corner. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see whether that's going to be that strong in tonight, with how much worn the track is at the moment and how much it's going to wear it as the night progresses. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things that's just another dynamic to add into the whole racing aspect of this.
We were briefly looking there at the Slick SimSport car of Ryan Harris, and Slick SimSport, some big news for them in the last few days. They have multiple cars that are qualified for the iRacing World of Outlaws Sprint Car World Championship, and among them, Zach Novak, one of the most respected sim racers out there in terms of pace. That's a big signing for them.
Yeah, it most certainly is. It's awesome to have Zach and a couple of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers actually joining the team. So yeah, it's really exciting to see how they're going to go. And obviously, qualifying for the series is an amazing feat in itself. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how the boys go and what sort of results the guys from SimSport can put out.
Well, for now, Slick SimSport's focus, in Ryan Harris's case, is the Autumn Nationals here at Volusia Speedway Park. So, session running down then, 2.5 minutes to go. Currently sitting on top of the timesheets is Jason Nygaard on a 13.522, and car number 22 there. Oh, goodness me. One of the guys finding the wall there. You see how much Jason is working the wheel here, but it's still minute movements because Volusia, an incredibly fast track. It's only 4 meters shorter than the epic Eldora Speedway, so you carry a lot of speed through these corners, especially with those T-tray wings on these sprint cars.
Yeah, certainly, and with the lack of horsepower, you can't really afford to throw it around as much as you can with the 410s. So it's all about being nice and precise and keeping that momentum flow up throughout the entire circuit so that you can optimize the lap time to as best you can and also keep the grip in the car as well.
Gavin Sadler for Pace Syndicate, he ran into some hard luck through the course of the event last round at Lernerville, but he certainly has pace in these dirt events. Looking forward to seeing how he goes from 12th place. Well, here we are in qualifying then. The drivers have 4 minutes and 2 laps to set their times for the heats. And just another reminder, the top 8 in every heat will be inverted. So these positions that we'll see in qualifying won't be an accurate reflection of how these grids are going to be set up in the heats.
Yeah, certainly. You might find that some drivers will probably sort of fake the dummy a little bit and sort of chuck a few sandbags on the back in the fuel tank. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who ends up where and who's possibly sandbagged and who's just showing their true pace. So you'll probably find a lot of the quicker guys, so Hewitt, Bergeron, Berkeley, those sort of drivers will probably increase the fuel a little bit to slow themselves down a bit to help them with the grid positions. But yeah, it's so far looking like Bradley Oldfield is at the top of the timesheet.
Yeah, and unassailed for now, Harry Stewart only running a time good enough for second on the timesheets. Fastest time, 14.438 from Bradley Oldfield. And guys in the 14.4s, oh, hold on a minute. Jason Nygaard just smashed his way to pole, a 14.373. So now he gets up the top of the timesheets. Nathan Norman to second place on a 14.434. the times over 14.5 only go back to about 6th place. So these times are quite close at the moment.
Yeah, they actually are. There's not a lot in it, and probably you find that some of the drivers are sort of not really putting in representative times either. And it's one of the tricky things because there's such a small gap between the likes of first and way down the order. It's somewhat harder to sort of sandbag around it on dirt because you're kind of looking at hundredths and thousandths of a second as to whether that's going to make a massive difference and put you at the front and end up putting you at the back of the grid, or that's going to end up putting you in that nice sweet spot of 8th place in your heat.
Yeah, Brenton Hobson will be looking to improve his standing a little bit here as he comes through the final turn. Hobbo having not the best run at Lernerville, running into a couple of problems on the way. And Tim Ryan sitting in the pits there as Alex Bergeron takes his qualifying run. Ryan still has not set a time yet, so be interesting to see what he can do in that last minute of the session, if he intends to go out at all. Alex Bergeron running a time good enough for position 1, as expected. 14.278 for the champion. That's a very impressive time.
Yeah, it most certainly is. And there is some, do believe there is points actually for qualifying as well. So there is that other thing of also trying to get that quick time to maximize your point score, but also making sure you don't end up at the back of the field. So it's sort of a double-edged sword as to what you do there. But it seems to be that everybody's sort of going for points at the end of the day, which doesn't really come as much of a surprise.
And out comes Tim Ryan in the final minute of the session to do his qualifying run, running all the way up to the wall. So we're going to get a very good view of his run for pole. He knows what kind of times Alex Bergeron has done, but the track is in a little bit worse shape than it was at the start of the session. You see the groove really forming there because all the cars are still putting their data onto the circuit, even though you're technically driving solo. Tim Ryan's first time then, a 14.571, good enough for 22nd on the road. He's going to have to do much better on this second lap, running that outside line, searching for as much grip as he can, and he is done. 14.495. He manages to get himself up to 10th.
Yeah, it's actually not that quick, and I do possibly wonder if he actually did let off as he crossed the finish line. So he probably not quite a representative lap, but still reasonable.
Well, there we go. And straight into the heats we are, just like that. 12-car grid for this one. Now, Alex Bergeron would have been on pole, but top 8 is inverted. He starts from 8th, which means Joel Berkeley and Hayden McCandy share the front row. Clint Smith and Jock Goodyear on row 2. Devin Butts and Brett Wheeler 5th and 6th, with Harry Stewart and Alex Bergeron completing your inverted top 8. Rounding out the top 10, Ethan Bastian and Aaron Kelly. And our 12-car field is completed by Josh Harm and Jay Howell.
Yeah, I think the car, so watching this one, it's definitely going to be Bergeron having to come through this field with that 8-car inversion. And bearing in mind that that top 3 is the only cars that end up going through automatically to the feature as well. So probably does have a bit of work cut out for him. And it's probably going to be an easy walk in the park for Joel Berkeley, I imagine.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. That is a good point you raised, though. The top 3 from every heat just goes straight into the A main. The top 2 from each heat get an automatic spot in the pole dash. So there's a lot to race for here in these heats. We'll be getting underway very, very soon. The iRacing pace truck will take them around, and 2 laps of pacing. They'll be able to stake out the circuit, see what the conditions are like, and they'll already be well aware of that groove. You can see it there from the back of the pace truck, that slick, slightly lighter shade of clay that follows the racing line.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember as well, off the start, it is going to be a bit risky for the drivers on the inside, especially the pole person, or in this case, Joel Berkeley, to not hit those tyre bundle at the start of pit entry as well. Very, very easy to do if you're not quite fully paying attention and also do get caught out by the slick. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here off the start and who's possibly going to have a best run into turn 1.
Yeah, the run into turn one is going to be incredibly important because the D shape of Volusia really lends itself to some difficult circumstances. That is the pit entry there, and you could see how those yellow tires stick right out. You have to be very precise with your exit line from turn four, and you can't go too low. Similar problem happens in turns one and two as well, because the pit exit wall comes out, and then the inside wall really juts out on the inside. So you want to run up a little bit from the bottom if you want to be safe, but these guys are going to be playing for keeps.
Yeah, they most certainly will. And you're going to be racing on the absolute limit of adhesion, especially running on that bottom side where there's not really a lot of clay down there that is reasonably fresh. It's probably about a car width's length between the wall and pretty much before you stick your right rear in that slick patch. So, yeah, it's really going to be on the limit, and hitting that inside wall through three in the middle of turns three and four is going to be one of those things we might see if drivers are running the bottom as well. But Pace Truck is about to pull in, and we're about to go racing.
Yes, Joel Berkeley is going to control the field here off the start. Hayden McCandy will be watching him. Berkeley way ahead there before the green flag flew. McCandy falling back almost instantly there. Did not time that start very well. Berkeley already under pressure here from Clint Smith, who's going to go up the inside into turn three and slide his way into the lead of this one. But Berkeley coming back at him. Have a look at Jock Goodyear, still in third place, being pressured by Brett Wheeler and Harry Stewart. Alex Bergeron, on the other hand, still mired back in the pack. He has not been able to make much of a way forward.
Yeah, he seems to be really stuck at the moment in between the likes of Aaron Kelly and those sort of drivers at the moment. He's not really been able to show much pace because he's been so held up for so long and nearly puts himself in the wall. So he's really trying hard and carrying the wall, and I believe that was Aaron Kelly.
Yeah, that's a big shame there. Aaron Kelly, bit of an innocent victim there because the number 47 of Devon Butts was slow through 3 and 4. Well, half race distance completed, and these guys are still racing incredibly hard. You see them struggling with the oversteer through turn one. This is a great battle for the lead of this one. Joel Berkeley still holding on from Clint Smith, but Brett Wheeler pressuring Smith here for second place. All of those guys are in the box seat for getting into the A main, but Wheeler would certainly like a shot at the dash, and he is going to get one here potentially. Will the slide job work? Smith goes for the over-under and gets it right back in 1 and 2, almost getting there into Berkeley, slowing up his momentum in the mid-corner. He's going to lose out here to Harry Stewart.
That momentum loss isn't really going to help him. He's lost the position to Harry Stewart, but he's going to come back up the inside with a slide job. But Harry Stewart's going to just drive around the outside. And the other thing is these drivers are fighting in.
Oh, goodness me. I'm sorry, Cam. That was almost contact there between our two race leaders. Wheeler, I think, has run out of fuel there. So he's only going to finish fourth in the end. He was up for a second place, probably even a win. But Joel Berkeley is going to be the one crossing the line in first place there. So an excellent job from Joel Berkeley. And Harry Stewart coming home then in second place. Clint Smith completes the top three. They're all getting into the A main. Brett Wheeler just running out right at the end. That is going to hurt. And Alex Bergeron getting up to fifth at the end. But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. Well, we get onto the grid then for the second heat of the night. Corey Steinhauser and Daniel Hartigan lining up on the first row. Callum Davidson and Ryan Harris on the second row. Scott Butler and Tim Ryan sharing row 3. Ryan definitely stands to gain something out of this. Kobe Dent, Jason Nygaard, Danny Vassal, and Lockie Beattie rounding out the top 10 for Heat 2, rounded out by Kieran Redpath and Jacob Penno.
Yeah, pretty competitive field this one is, and Tim Ryan, bit of work to do starting from P6. We did see Bergeron struggle as well in that previous heat. Nearly got into the transfers, but just not quite in the end. So, yeah, it's gonna be something to watch. Obviously, the drivers who did get that inverter seem to be struggling a little bit, and with the track more or less being one lined, it does seem to really be a bit of a hindrance to trying to move through the field.
Yeah, big hindrance, and it's difficult to pass here at Volusia as we have seen. It's definitely a place where you pass a rival and it's equally as likely that you'll just be passed back at the next corner. So it's going to take a lot of grit and determination from the drivers to defend their positions. So the pace truck will be coming in momentarily and will be able to get going for Heat 2. Steinhauser will be controlling the field here, but Daniel Hardigan showing a lot of pace as well, getting up near the top of the timesheets in the practice sessions beforehand. So, in comes the pace truck, green flag out instantly, and that was a bad start from Corey Steinhauser because Hardigan instantly taking the lead there off the start, demoting him to second and now to third because Ryan Harris just sliding through on the outside. Tim Ryan coming through as well to try and get up into third place. That has not been a profitable start for Corey Steinhauser.
No, it certainly hasn't. He's gone only backwards, has it, Corey, at the end of the day. But Tim Ryan running the bottom side of the racetrack at the moment and really starting to make it work quite well, especially of turns 3 and 4, where he doesn't quite have the momentum of the likes of Ryan Harris, but he seems to have a lot of pace. So really on his way through and will be pretty much locked in at this stage to get a moment in the feature, but now going to begin with a dash shot.
Yes, indeed. Or will he? Because Ryan Harris coming through there to take second place back. And oh, that was nearly a spin there for Ryan Harris, but just saving it. Fantastic car control. So Tim Ryan resuming second place there. Battle starting to eventuate behind them because Kobe Dent really pushing Corey Steinhauser and Jason Nygaard.
Yeah, he's using that slider line to his advantage, but it's just not quite paying off at the end of the day. Not quite clearing them, and Nygaard's now going to look to the middle, and they're going to be 3 wide. Nygaard, bit of contact, but just managed to get on through.
There are about 10 occasions where that could have ended in disaster, but they all managed to get through. Amazing stuff. This is great racing that we're seeing in the second heat here. And Kobe Dent with the massive slide job, but unfortunately not working out for him. Nygaard stays ahead in 4th place, but up the front, Daniel Hardigan and Tim Ryan still battling incredibly hard as they get the white flag. It's going to be one last lunge here for Tim Ryan if he wants to take the win in this heat, and he's going for it down the inside, but Daniel Hardigan maintaining the momentum there on the outside. He takes the win in Heat 2. Both he and Ryan earning a transfer into the dash, finishing third, Ryan Harris. So he's in the A main too.
Yeah, very solid top 3 there. And also, Jason Nygaard just edged out Kobe Dent across this finish line. So, yeah, very close race between them. But, yeah, really, really good racing in that one. And Heat 3 is probably just looking as good.
Yes, indeed. And for that one, Tyler Bish is going to be the one starting on the pole. Aston Hurley joins him on row 1. Bradley Sanders and Hayden Veld in 4th place. Bob King starting in 5th. And Gavin Sadler rounding out the top 6. It's going to be interesting to see what King, Sadler, and Veld can do from there. John Schultz and Nathan Norman round out the top 8. Top 10 rounded out by Damian Rasmussen and Travis Castagna. And the 12 car field rounded out by Luke Sampson and Cruz McVie for Race on Oz. They're already away and pacing behind the pace truck. So difficult to pick who the ultimate winners of these heats are going to be. Of course, thanks to that top 8 inversion, but it's certainly made for some good action.
Yeah, it's certainly put on some really good racing as in this top 8 inversion so far. It's kind of given some of the slower drivers a little bit of a chance of trying to make the feature and giving the quicker guys a bit of a challenge. But yeah, it's probably anyone's guess as to who's going to end up winning this heat and who's going to end up going through the dash and also the features. Probably really can't discount anyone inside that top 10 if anyone in this entire heat. So yeah, gonna really look forward to the likes of Bradley Sanders and Hayden Veld and Bob King and that and Gavin Sadler all had pretty solid runs at round 1. So really looking forward to seeing who can do what.
It's a very competitive field in this ODSE 360 Power Series. I've enjoyed the commentary duties we've had so far, and I look forward to many, many more of them because this is a fantastic series it's turning out. Pace truck coming in then, getting set to go for Heat 3. The green flag will fly and Tyler Bish will get hard on the throttle here. There's a pretty even start between them, but scything up the middle, Bradley Sanders to try and take P2. He manages to get it, and he's got a... Oh, no! Oh, goodness me, that is a big crash. So Hayden Veld and Aston Hurley both put all the way to the back of the field. Bradley Sanders to P1 then for BRM. And oh my goodness, running that high line massively. And side by side with Sadler too. Sadler up into second.
Yeah, but here comes Gavin Sadler, who's moved it back into the lead of the race, but Sanders is probably going to come back at him at some stage. Doesn't quite look at it in turns 1 and 2, but probably looking 3 and 4 just further back. Nathan Norman and Tyler Bish going at it side by side to turn at number 3. Bish on the low side, not quite going to have the grip though. Ends up spinning the rears in the slick, but nevertheless, pretty solid race for that final transfer spot between Bob King and John Schultz.
Yes, indeed. Bob King diving down to the inside, trying to see what the bottom is like at the moment. Car setup is going to be very important, especially as the night wears on. John Schultz sitting pretty on that high line. He's comfortable. You can see it in his car behavior, but he's not got the momentum that he needs to try and get past King for this transfer spot. And up in the lead, Gavin Sadler is driven away, actually, from Bradley Sanders. This is quite the dominant run that Sadler is putting together here as he starts his penultimate lap.
It was quite a lot significantly quicker than the car behind of Bradley Sanders. 15.1 from Gavin Sadler that last time, Brian, 15.3 from Bradley Sanders, and 15.2 from Bob King and John Schultz. So it's, yeah, he's got some massive pace at the moment in that car, and Bob King really starting to try and hold on here with only a handful of laps to go behind, with John Schultz really throwing everything at him.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a potential slide job here for John Schultz if King doesn't protect the inside, which he does. Gavin Sadler, meanwhile, coming through to take victory in the third heat, finishing second Bradley Sanders, and King manages to hold off Schultz in the end for that final A-main transfer spot. It was a bit of an unfortunate run there for a few of the guys in that heat, namely Tyler Bish, Hayden Veld, and Aston Hurley as well. They could have finished very well on that one, but nonetheless, we move on to Heat 4, starting on the pole. Zach Howell, Dylan DeBono for One Performance Racing on the first row. Lachlan Horton and Hobbo88, Brenton Hobson starting on row 2. Brad O'Brien and Daniel Gow on row 6. An interesting matchup between those two. Lewis Hewitt and Bradley Oldfield for United and for Slick. They are quite the matchup there in the lower realms of the top 8. Trent Gosley and Matt Reed on row 5. And Sean Wilson and Clayton Davies going to round out this 12-car field. But wow, in the mid-pack, there's some big names.
Yeah, certainly. That fourth row of the grid with Lewis Hewitt and Bradley Oldfield is going to be one to watch. They're going to be charging through the field for sure, but like Lachlan Horton, Brenton Hobson, Dylan DeBono, those sort of drivers in with a solid shot of making it through to the A-main and possibly the dash as well. So, yeah, really looking forward to seeing whether they can hold on or whether the likes of Hewitt and Oldfield are going to storm through the field and put on an absolute awesome drive.
It's confirmed that this is going to be the final heat of the night, so that means there's only going to be a single dash session, but it's going to be an 8-lap race. A 6-lap race. My apologies. Had to relook at my notes there. My apologies, but that sets the course for that section of the night. And as we come into this fourth and final heat, you can really see how the track has evolved or devolved in some places over the course of this racing. Interesting to note that we are also racing in day conditions, so plenty of sunlight hitting that track surface and making it even slicker.
Yeah, certainly. It'll be drying the track out, and with a 29-degree track temp and 25-degree air temp, it'll sort of be drying that moisture out a little bit, making this track a little bit more slicker, a little quicker. So, yeah, going to be an exciting race. This one is pace car is in, and we're green.
And that was a perfectly timed start from Dylan DeBono. He takes the lead instantly, and that has concertinaed the pack back a bit. Couple of cars coming together in turn one. Main loser out of all of that, Daniel Gow. He is at the back of the grid. Bradley Oldfield with problems as well. He's fallen to the back. I think making a mistake in turn one. So not a great start for Oldfield, but up at the front, Brenton Hobson. Wow, look at him around the outside there, running that high line very well, and it's obviously too much for Dylan DeBono. He's stuck down on that slick line on the bottom. He is not able to keep that momentum up, and he is going to get swallowed up by these guys now. Lachlan Horton through, and then Matt Reed through, coming into turn three. And have a look at Horton versus Hewitt here. Horton trying down the inside. You see how far up the circuit these guys are running now, and it seems like a couple of them are having trouble keeping that rear end in check.
Yeah, it's very, very bumpy up there at the moment. The cushion's not quite a perfect berm, so you end up coming into the entry and being right on the edge of the grip, and it makes it bumpy. But Hewitt with amazing move running the cushion around the outside of Lachlan Horton there.
That was excellent. It shows just how narrow the operating window is when you're going around a track that's been heavily used in this subsection of dirt tracks. But up the front, Brenton Hobson is pretty much untroubled, starting the second to last lap. Lewis Hewitt behind him, and running in third, Lachlan Horton. Still quite a bit of battling going on in the back of the pack. Matt Reed trying a move on Clayton Davies briefly, but we'll have to wait and see how that battle turns out. Holding around the outside seems to be the better way to go here. But final lap then, white flag for Brenton Hobson, and Lewis Hewitt trying down the inside one more time, but that grip up the high line is fantastic. Brenton Hobson taking the win there. He and Lewis Hewitt are through to the dash, and Lachlan Horton gets a spot in the A main. Dylan DeBono managing fourth in the end.
Yeah, very solid race, and a couple of close finishes as well, looking at the finishing times between the likes of Matt Reed, Daniel Gow, and a few others. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens here. And with three B main, well, a D and C and B main, it'll, be interesting to see what happens.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a 10-lap D main here. Jacob Penno starting on pole. Hayden Veld joins him on the first row. Zach Howell and Jay Howell in the third and fourth positions. Lockie Beattie and Cruz McVie lining up fifth and sixth. Brad O'Brien and Aaron Kelly, Kieran Redpath and Luke Sampson rounding out the top 10. The field is rounded out by the final two. Final one rather. Luke Sampson, Trent Gosley lining up in 11th spot. So the top two from this one are going to go through into the B main, and they're going to have another shot. The C main rather. They'll have a shot at the B main, and it's only going to be those top two spots that count in the D and C mains.
Yeah, so a lot of pressure on the drivers starting at the front, and then a lot of pressure for the quicker drivers who are coming through from the previous consolation race. And yeah, will be interesting to see who comes through, who ends up transferring, and who ends up getting those final few spots in the feature. It's a little bit less pressureful in the B main with obviously 8 drivers going through instead of just 2, but nevertheless, as we saw last week, it's all on and all sorts of things can happen, and you can go from pretty much dead last all the way to making it through.
You certainly can, and drivers like Hayden Veld, Jacob Penno, Zach Howell, Cruz McVie, they missed out massively in their heats, and they could have finished on the podium with the pace they had. So this is going to be one final chance for them to move forward another couple of places. It's going to be difficult, though, because that track is just getting slicker and slicker by the moment.
Yeah, it most certainly is. It's just getting further and further up to that wall. That outside below the cushion is actually still reasonably fresh, although that cushion seems to be really starting to build up quite heavily and really starting to provide a lot of speed for a lot of drivers, especially through the likes of turns 3 and 4, where you can see right in the center of the corner, it's really built up against that outside fence.
Yeah, certainly has. That it's starting to look a bit like it did at Lernerville, actually. But the green flag flying then for the D main, and it's an even start between Hayden Veld and Jacob Penno. Penno on the inside, Veld outside. And it looks like a clean run through turns 1 and 2 for pretty much everyone
big crash.
Oh, that is a huge contact there. Cruz McVie, Jay Howell, and Zach Howell, unfortunately, involved in that one. It looked like contact there between the Howells, and just sent flying was Zach.
Yeah, just a matter of touching wheels, and that's all it sort of takes is just a small mistake, and pretty much everybody just sort of merges into each other. So unfortunate there, but the battle at the front really sort of not really there. Hayden Veld's starting to run away, but now Jacob Penno starting to come under pressure from Brad O'Brien, who is not going to throw a side job and is going to run the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, and everyone's struggling there to keep their cars going in a straight line. You see how much Penno is struggling, and he's in the wall. And also in the wall is Aaron Kelly, but he manages to get out of it. That slick groove is taking these drivers by surprise, I think, because I've seen a lot more mistakes from these guys. Oh my goodness, Gosley going into second place there versus Brad O'Brien. He has advanced all the way from the back as Trent Gosley. This is a fantastic run from him.
Yeah, it most certainly is, and he's in with a shot of transferring at this stage. If he can just hold on, there's not too many laps to go. We're over halfway, so just needs to keep putting in some nice, consistent laps and not end up in the wall. But looks like that bottom side is actually not doing too bad at the moment. Handenveld with a 15.7 up the top, whereas Trent Gosley with a 15.5 on the bottom. So seems that bottom side starting to come into its own at the moment and starting to provide a bit of lap time.
Yeah, well, everyone running the outside will just bring the groove further and further up the track, so the bottom will come back at some point, and it looks like we're starting to see the early stages of that now. Gosley is really starting to gain on Veld, but for 6th and 7th between Lockie Beattie and the embattled Jacob Penno, it's looks like an easy move from that point, but then you obviously get to the next turn on the circuit and Penno losing out there due to the lack of momentum on the groove. Hayden Veld, though, he's starting to come under some big pressure here from Trent Gosley. Still running that outside, so Veld seems quite comfy there, but 15.7 for him and a 15.7 for Gosley on the bottom. Seems like it's equaled out a little bit. Gosley is struggling to maintain that pace that he had. And with that, Hayden Veld takes victory in the D main. Brad O'Brien finishing in 3rd place. Trent Gosley is going to make his way through to the C main with Hayden Veld. So very unfortunate for a lot of drivers in that heat. Unfortunately, their nights are over.
Yeah, unfortunately, and number of drivers who could have easily transferred, but just caught up by the tricky track conditions of that high side being just a very knife edge line of just ending up in the wall or ending up with wheel spins. So yeah, it's one of those challenges, especially at Volusia, where it does get quite tricky through the likes of the middle of 3 and 4, and also on the entry to turns 1, like we saw with Jacob Penno. He ended up right up in the wall and pretty much nearly on his lid.
Well, we look at the grid then for the C main. Tyler Bish and Sean Wilson, Ethan Bastian and Danny Vassell. Your top 4 there. Castagna and Gow on row 3. Harmon Butler. Interesting to see what Josh Harm can do from 7th place. Aston Hurley as well. He'll be wanting to advance as well. Matt Reed rounding out the top 10. And we have 13 cars in this one. Hayden McCandy and our top 2 from the D main, Hayden Veld and Trent Gosley, rounding out this field.
Yeah, it'll definitely be ones to watch will be that final row of Veld and Gosley. So imagine they'll probably be able to get mid-pack maybe, but possibly come through the entire field. I mean, we saw Trent Gosley go from pretty much dead last all the way to P2. So anything can happen. And with that bottom starting to come back into its own sort of line, it's, yeah, going to be interesting to see who does what and whether we might even see that top side start to blow off a little bit.
We got to remember also this race is 2 laps longer than the D main, so the drivers will have a bit of extra time to try and get their moves done, but all of that is still hot rubber hitting a hot clay surface, which is not exactly the best for grip right at the end of the night. Be interesting to see how the inside line goes in this one. As you said, Cam, pace car is in, and Tyler Bish is going to lead the field away here. But it is not a well-timed start for him. Big concertina back in the pack, and at a disadvantage there was Josh Harm and Travis Castagna. Oh, and it's a big crash in turn 2, sorry. Ethan Bastian coming off the worst from that. He is now dead last, but through the field, lots of battles happening here because, my goodness, Sean Wilson and Aston Hurley fighting very hard for the lead of this one, and a big pack of cars behind them looking to capitalize.
Yes, certainly. One car trying to capitalise at the moment is indeed Josh Harm of Slick Sim Sports up the inside of the car of Aston Hurley, but didn't quite get the move done. Currently sitting P3, who'll really be looking to try and get into P2. A couple of cars further back was banging wheels earlier on, but not quite.
Yeah, Harm nearly making contact there with Aston Hurley. He really likes throwing that car into this last turn here. You see how close they get it. Oh, I actually make contact there. So, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, there we go. Josh Harm hitting that inside wall in turn 1. Oh, and it's almost taken out Matt Reed. Hayden Veld at the back of the field. He is spun. He's managed to get going again, but it looks like his night is over now.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. Scott Butler making contact with the car of Tyler Bish there in turn 2. Bit of a whack there. I do wonder if also Josh Harm possibly has damage, but it doesn't look like he does so. Should be able to recover and contact between himself and Tyler Bish there, but Harmy now really starting to come into it, and he's hit the wall again.
Oh, Sean Wilson will be loving this. He's holding that top line very well. And Aston Hurley up in position 1, not facing any pressure either. But it's going to be on here for this second place because remember, oh, goodness me, Wilson going very deep there. And Harm up into second. He is in the transfer spot. And here's Gosley trying to come up on these guys. Look at how much he has advanced.
Yeah, Gosley's really starting to push it. He's not got too many laps left, only about 3 to go at this point, or he might be having technical issues. This might end up being an end to his night, unfortunately.
Yeah, Trent Gosley has unfortunately disappeared from the timing sheets. That's a sign of a technical issue. So that's a big shame for Trent. He was running incredibly well. Probably could have been on for a podium position there, but Aston Hurley is still your leader here in the number 99. And Josh Harm far behind there for Slick Sim Sport, but neither of those guys are under any pressure as Aston Hurley comes around to start his final lap. Sean Wilson trying his best to hold off there against another car, and Wilson obviously trying his best to get something out of this one after starting well, but unfortunately, his night is going to be over from here, but not for Aston Hurley, taking the win there, and Josh Harm in P2, just holding off Scott Butler there. Very close gap between them at the very end, but they are through.
Yeah, certainly. Harmy definitely could have thrown that race away, but did end up managing to get that one into P2 in the end. So luckily for him, he's going to have made it through, but 16 car grid coming up and 14 laps.
Yes, indeed. The B main is go, and starting on pole is Brett Wheeler, Jason Nygaard joining him on the first row. John Schultz and Dylan DeBono, who we saw last in the heats. This is going to be quite the interesting matchup. Alex Bergeron starting from 5th. He's going to be one to watch for sure. Kobe Dent, too, from 6th. Nathan Norman from 7th. Bradley Oldfield and Jock Goodyear starting from 8th and 9th. They will want to advance, and Corey Steinhauser will want to make up for his unfortunate start in the heats. Rounding out the top 10 there, and the field rounded out by Damian Rasmussen, Clayton Davies, Devin Butts, Callum Davison, and Aston Hurley and Josh Harm from the previous race. What can they do from the back of the grid?
Well, based on previous few races and based on last round, they'll probably make it through to the A main, and they'll possibly end up inside that top 5. It's, yeah, who knows what's going to happen. Obviously, those two that front row of Brett Wheeler and Jason Nygaard is going to be very strong. Bergeron in this as well, starting in P5. So, yeah, number of drivers, Jock Goodyear, Corey Steinhauser, and obviously those two at the back, Aston Hurley and Josh Ham. Number of drivers in this to watch, number of drivers who could easily transfer through. It's really going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we should remind you all that the top 8 from this B main go through into the feature. So it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't finish on the podium or in the top 2. You just got to make sure that you finish 8th. And we will keep an eye on that transfer spot because there's undoubtedly going to be some very hard battles for that one. Bradley Oldfield starting in 8th. He's going to be in the box seat.
Yeah, certainly. He's on the bubble at the moment, and he'll be wanting to protect that bubble or even move further up to stop it himself from it possibly falling outside of the bubble. So, yeah, going to be all about trying to protect yourself and keep inside that top 8 at the end of the day.
Well, the green flag flies then. The B main is go here at Volusia. A great start from Brett Wheeler. He will go into turn 1 unassailed. John Schultz briefly assuming P2, but then getting pincer maneuvered on both sides by Jason Nygaard and Alex Bergeron. And Bergeron through into P2, then contact behind them though, and that's going to go right into the rest of the field. Oh, and we got cars on their roofs. Kobe Dent in the wall. Callum Davidson in the wall too. Clayton Davies on his side. He has retired. But the race goes on. Alex Bergeron trying to pressure Brett Wheeler for this position 1. And you got to think Alex Bergeron is going to waste no time getting this done. Look at the run that he got down the back stretch. He has got a massive rear end grip on that thing, taking advantage of the grippy surface on the inside.
Yeah, certainly. But that mid track seems to have a little bit of grip as well, as Brett Wheeler is demonstrating at the moment, seeming to keep even with Alex Bergeron. But at the moment, looks like the likes of Jock Goodyear is starting to really come through, and a few others as well.
Yeah, Jock Goodyear currently battling for 3rd place with Dylan DeBono. They're running side by side down the back stretch. Bradley Oldfield making his way up into 5th place. The driver currently sitting on the bubble is John Schultz in position 8, and he's got a bit of... oh my goodness! Oh, that is a crash. That is a big crash. Devin Butts missing his front wing out of all of that. And that was contact with another car as Bergeron is now through into the race lead.
Yeah, it just looked like with that incident with Butts, it looks like Nathan Norman actually just got a little bit loose, clipped the outside wall, and then just sort of bounced into Devin Butts. And that was a massive impact with the inside wall. But at the moment, Bergeron really starting to run that high side. It's going to be challenging for this race lead now with Brett Wheeler sort of trading the position of to the inside. But at the moment, it seems pretty even.
Yeah, it is pretty even between these guys. I would have thought that Bergeron would drive away once he passed Wheeler, but obviously that is not the case. This very tough track is keeping all of the drivers on their toes. And have a look at that move into 3rd place for Jock Goodyear. Oh, that wasn't a move for 3rd place. I make a mistake. He was passing a lapped car. But Jock Goodyear in 3rd place then. It's still on for the lead, though. Alex Bergeron behind then Brett Wheeler. But probably going to be even again coming across the line on this next lap. You see Bergeron diving down to that inside, getting on the throttle early, trying to keep that momentum up as much as possible. He has the inside for turn 1, not quite able to keep the momentum up on the inside though. Can Wheeler hold on? It's going to be white flag in 3 laps time for these guys, so they haven't got much time to sort themselves out. Bergeron not able to get away from Wheeler.
Certainly, Wheeler is putting a stake to Bergeron's pace at the moment and is doing an absolutely awesome job running that midline. But now Bergeron trying back to the high side of the racetrack to try and see if there is pace. And he's pulled a little bit there, but just doesn't quite seem to have the extra pace. But it's on for the transfer spot between 3 cars of Rasmussen, Norman, and also John Schultz. It's all going on at the moment between those 3.
Yeah, it is. It's huge between those guys. Currently, Norman holds the transfer spot, but my goodness, that was a brave move around the outside there for Damian Rasmussen. He's going to try his best to get it done. He knows that that is his ticket into the A main, but looks like it is white flag then for Alex Bergeron. He takes victory there. He managed to hold off the lead there from Brett Wheeler, who ran out of fuel at the line. He finishes third, Jock Goodyear taking second, and it was Nathan Norman who managed to hold off Damian Rasmussen for eighth. And they were tied at the line for eighth and ninth. That's wow. I wasn't quite expecting that. Shows you how competitive it is.
Yes, certainly. There was actually nothing in it. It was literally not even a nose. It was probably a nerf bar of the front bumper. There was just nothing in it between those two across the line.
Yeah, we've got a slow motion replay of that going on here at the moment while the drivers go out for their warm up, and you can see just how close the finish was here between Nathan Norman and Damian Rasmussen. Just looks like Rasmussen. Oh my goodness, that would have been mere millimeters between those guys. I can't believe that. How do you even you need a computer to determine timing like that?
Yeah, certainly. You can't make that sort of stuff up, and it just goes to show how close dirt racing is. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic finish.
It certainly is. And now we move into the pole dash. This is an 8-car field for a 6-lap run to determine who will start on pole position. So the winner of this race gets to start from the front and also gets to choose whether or not they will start on the inside or the outside for the feature here tonight. Going to be 30 laps in that one, but the dash has started. It's an even start between Joel Berkeley and Daniel Hardigan. Very close field. You already see drivers going up to the inside like Brenton Hobson, like Tim Ryan, like Lewis Hewitt. They're very comfortable on that outside. Have a look at Ryan, though, using that mid-corner, as is Hobson, and they're going to start challenging for the lead very soon because Hartigan and Berkeley are starting to fall back.
Yeah, he certainly is going to roll into each other, and they're nearly on Hewitt up and over.
Oh, and that was all contact there that Brenton Hobson was involved in. I'm not quite sure who the other drivers were, but that's going to be very unfortunate for those guys. Currently leading, though, Alex Bergeron and Gavin Sadler battling very hard here. This is going to be quite the race to get things underway. Gavin Sadler is currently battling with Harry Stewart for that pole honours. Not quite sure
Tim Ryan's actually
how
in the
this is
background.
gonna-
He's starting to come on through as well.
Well, Ryan could potentially be on for a podium here as they start the 6th and final lap of this race. And oh my goodness, Tim Ryan just avoiding Joel Berkeley there. Or Joel Berkeley just avoiding Tim Ryan. Coming out of the final turn then, it's going to be Harry Stewart who takes that victory. And he has earned himself a pole position start here in the A-Main.
Yeah, very, very solid drive there by Stewart to hold off the likes of Tim Ryan and also Gavin Sadler to start on pole position for this A-Main. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if that incident between the likes of Hobson, Hewitt, and that didn't happen, but regardless, really, really good race.
Yeah, it certainly was. It's going to be fantastic to see where this night takes us. So we've only got one event left to run here tonight, the 30-lap A-Main. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out because we've got an incredibly competitive field here. We've got some rivalries. We've got no lost love between some drivers in this series. So it'll be interesting to see how it all works out at the end of those 30 laps. The track's not getting cleaned either, so it's going to have a big slick groove running all the way up by the end.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's going to be drivers really pushing the limit up against the cushion on the outside. And there's going to be drivers who are probably going to be a bit conservative and running the middle and the bottom, which seems to be not too bad for pace. There's all sorts of carnage going on in the warm-up, but yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty racy track and going to be all sorts of different lines being experimented with and used, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, you can see very narrow. Oh my goodness, more mayhem happening there. Jock Goodyear finding the wall and almost landing on top of it, but not quite. But those aerial shots of the track that they really demonstrate how narrow the grippy lines are. You got a lot of room to work with on the inside of the back stretch, but once again, that's not going to be the most optimum line. It seems like the top line in 1 and 2 is the way to go, but once you get to 3 and 4, things get a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, they certainly do. That whole entire track is pretty much rubbing in and through 3 and 4, through turns 4 especially, where it's a matter of just running that outside wall and putting it all online and making sure you don't end up hitting that outside wall, as it is a very, very thin line between ending up in the wall and ending up with a whole bunch of wheel spin, especially as you get right across the start finish line, where it does start to get quite bumpy, and especially in turn 1 where it is quite bumpy on the cushion.
Yes, indeed. And Clint Smith already finding that out. He just went straight on into the access road wall in turn 4. That's going to be an issue if drivers decide to run a bit too high in this 30-lap A main, which will be starting imminently. I've been looking forward to this one all week because Volusia turns it on for racing, always does. And it's going to be a fantastic A main here to finish off the Super F Series Spares Autumn Nationals Round 2 of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series.
So I guess the question is, who's going to win this? Because you've got Bergeron in that starting further back. You've got Berkeley at the front and Hobson in that at the front. So it's going to be hard to choose who's going to win this.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly hard to choose, and you can't count out Harry Stewart either, starting on the pole. Don't know whether he's chosen to go for inside or outside, but that will be up to him, and he will have let the organisers know, and we'll find out with our eyes when we see the grid form up. So this is going to be a bit of a process that we need to go through before the green flag flies, but the drivers will be forming up manually, and then we'll be going for 30 green flag laps, and laps are not counted under caution, so we will get a full race distance out of this.
Yeah, I mean, we most certainly will. But the other thing is that the drivers are going to have to be carrying a little bit of extra fuel to counter for any cautions that we might have last week. So, yeah, shouldn't be too much worse than this one for the Volusia.
Yeah, certainly shouldn't, because this is one of those tracks that always turns it up, and the bumps that you see the drivers dealing with, especially on the outside, they're going to be a huge factor in this one. So we're not going to be going green just yet. We're still waiting for the grid to form up initially. So the pace truck is going to go in, and then the drivers will jostle around within themselves and assume their starting positions for this one. Noticing, looking at Joel Berkeley as well, you see a bit of a secondary groove forming up the top of 1 and 2. So that middle line through 1 and 2, I would suspect, is going to come into its own here.
Yeah, certainly. You can just see it's slightly lighter than sort of what's really all the darker stuff, but also not too much darker that it makes it really, really slippery. It's really strange to drive through, and you look at it and go, there's no way that can surely provide a lot of grip, but you actually drive through it sometimes and you just go, that's amazingly grippy. So yeah, will be interesting to see whether that comes in. It should probably be a factor, and you might see some drivers running it, but that said, it's going to be very difficult getting off turn 2 with all that black rubber down.
Yeah, it certainly will. Well, the pressure now is on Harry Stewart here, as the field forms up, and away we go for this 30-lap feature at Volusia Speedway Park.
Shunt already.
Oh! And already the caution is out. Drivers involved in that one, Daniel Hardigan and Lewis Hewitt, who's found himself in the infield again. That is an absolutely horror show there for Lewis Hewitt. He will be dirty about that. Let's have another look at the start then, thanks to Motum Simulation. Of course, this lap is not going to be counted as our first racing lap because of the incident. Happened before they crossed the line to start lap 2, and my goodness, just looks like the other car just got loose.
Yeah, it just looked like Sanders sort of just got loose on the bumps and the slick, and just unfortunately they sort of merged into each other. Unfortunately, Sanders and Hardigan, and obviously Hewitt trying to sort of find his own. Yeah, it was really all just sort of going off, really.
Yeah, there was a hit-ahead as well. Daniel Hardigan getting involved there, and he's lost his front wing out of that. Fortunately, he's been able to jump back into the pits and get that thing repaired, so hopefully we see him back out on track again soon. It looks like it was actually contact there that sent Sanders into Hewitt, but that's all she wrote for that first attempt at a start here. Hartigan has not come out of the pits, so I don't know if he'll be able to continue in this one. But the pace truck's still out, lights on, and lights should be turning off imminently as he crosses the line, and we will go green this time by. It's going to be an interesting start here. And, well, just rewind and 30 laps. Let's go.
Yeah, certainly they're going to try and treat this as a complete restart at this stage to sort of get going again, with obviously caution laps not counting, so will be interesting to see what happens. And looking like there's a few drivers obviously gaining from that, but also possibly going to be some different restarts.
Yes, indeed. Well, Gavin Sadler on the pole for this one, and he's going to control... Oh, no, he's not going to control the start. Hewitt got the jump. Stewart got the jump, and a little bit of contact there made by Joel Berkeley into the back of Gavin Sadler. But they continue on. Super jostling back in the pack here. Bob King is holding off the enemies at the gate, so to speak. Alex Bergeron trying his best to get by, but he's got Sanders, Harris, Hobson, Wheeler, Smith. My goodness, it's on for the lead here, because Harry Stewart is now facing huge pressure from Tim Ryan, and we know how quick Ryan is on these slick tracks. Look at him go down to the inside. He's going to use that hookup on the gravel and take that race lead. Excellent move, and it looks like he'll be able to keep Stewart behind him as well. Maybe. No, Stewart has the inside for 1 and 2. But Tim Ryan seems just throwing his car into the corner a little bit harder. Look at this battle back in the pack. This is huge here, Cam. And Bradley Sanders is, I'm not sure where he wants to go here, because it doesn't matter where he is, there's going to be a car pressuring him.
Yeah, he's sort of getting chased by a bunch of cars that are just roaring behind him. It's like he's running through the safari with a whole bunch of lions after him. It's just cars everywhere, and he can't really decide on where he wants to go because he just can't afford to go anywhere. So really doing a good job driving through the middle of the racetrack, just holding off everybody for the time being. But at the moment, there seems to be a battle brewing just ahead between Bob King and Gavin Sadler, and just behind them, Alex Bergeron is starting to get into this as well.
Yeah, Bob King and Gavin Sadler making a bit of bumper-to-bumper contact there. Bergeron sees the advantage and tries moving through on Sadler, so he'll get up into 5th place there, will Alex Bergeron. Joel Berkeley running that outside line to the max, getting into the wall occasionally, and getting a massive run there on Harry Stewart. But Stewart, it seems... just holding on there for 2nd place. Tim Ryan, on the other hand, has driven away. We got a caution. There's been an incident on track, and it looks like Clint Smith has managed to find the wall there.
Yeah, it just looks like a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact with himself and Ryan Harris through turn 1, and unfortunately Clint came off second best in that one. So but unfortunately, might see Ryan cop a end of line penalty there, but might not. We'll have to see what race control says about that one.
Yeah, it looks like they were pretty much side by side there at the point of contact. Glad I'm not in race control. So Tim Ryan has had a great opening campaign in this feature. He sits nicely in the lead there, and judging by the pace that he showed in those first laps, well, it's going to be difficult for anyone to beat him.
Yeah, certainly. He's had some pretty solid pace so far in this short stint that we had just now in this race. But that said, the likes of Berkeley is starting to work that top side quite well, and it seems to be starting to pay off a little bit as there's starting to be a lot of pace up there.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of pace up there up the top, but as you can see, that line getting narrower and narrower. So by the very end of this one, I think we're going to see drivers sliding all over the racetrack. They'll be working away, adjusting their brake bias and their wings. You can adjust the wings on the fly in these sprint cars, which can make a big difference to how your car tackles this track.
Yeah, certainly. The further back you go, the more rear grip you can have. But that said, it's a bit of a trade off with the fact that the further back you go, the less front turn you're going to have. So it's a bit of a balancing act. And obviously, with it being able to be changed on the fly, you can sort of manipulate the wing to give you a bit of turn, but then also a bit of grip on the exit. It's a little bit of a black art, but at the same time, sometimes some drivers might not change it and just run it for the whole time.
Well, we cease the setup discussion for now because we go green again to start the 12th lap of racing in the feature here. And Tim Ryan keeps that lead nicely. And Joel Berkeley still running that outside line, trying his best to make that work. Bob King and Alex Bergeron getting very close. Harry Stewart actually in front of Bergeron now. And it seems like Bergeron's getting boxed in a little here.
Yeah, he seems to be getting held up on that bottom side of the racetrack, which seems to have a little bit of pace, but not quite the same amount of pace as the top side, which Tim Ryan has moved up to try and counter Berkeley's pace at the moment. But yeah, Bergeron really getting trapped down there on the bottom behind the car of Bob King and still trying to force his way through, but just can't get the job done.
He's basically running the inside wall the whole way round as Alex Bergeron. That's going to be very frustrating for him. Did I hear a crashing sound? That might have just been Joel Berkeley getting up into the wall a little bit with that right rear tyre. You can see the gap for the lead decreasing here. Tim Ryan switching back to that middle line, but you can see Berkeley has got the advantage in terms of pace at the moment.
Oh,
contact between Bergeron and King. Oh my goodness, the caution is out. My goodness, what an incident that was. It seems like Bob King tried his best there to throw his car into turn one, but he had a bit too much momentum. Got into the back of Bergeron and spun him round. Here's the replay then. King on the outside, Bergeron on the inside. You see King getting that throttle and just tapping Bergeron on the rear. Round he goes. Harry Stewart had nowhere to go, and neither did Brett Wheeler.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Brett there. It was just sort of an innocent bystander with cars obviously going everywhere and rolling in different directions. So, yeah, but unfortunately, has lost his front wing by the looks of it. You can just see the car nowhere to go and straight into stock cars of Harry Stewart and that. So, fortunate there for Brett and also unfortunate for Bob and Alex, but we'll make it an interesting fight because Alex is going to have to come back through the field again.
Yeah, so will Bob King. He's been given an end-of-line penalty by race control for that incident, so not ruling in his favour. And we will get ready to go green next time by. Tim Ryan still holds on to that lead, but we saw Berkeley really coming back at him in that second stage of the race. The outside line really coming into its own.
It most certainly is at the moment with the way this track has been progressing. It's starting to become a very, very fickle line that you can run without ending up in the wall. You can, their right rear is literally millimeters from the wall, especially Berkeley, who's really up there. So, yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if there is a bit of wall banging going on, but wouldn't surprise me if the outside really does start to hook up and you see the likes of Tim and Berkeley start to run away with it.
We'll see what happens then. Green flag is going to fly imminently. And Tim Ryan will lead the field away once again, backing them up slightly, but that's all good. He's secured that lead, and Alex Bergeron now up into P2, or fighting for P2 with Joel Berkeley, still holding that inside line. Question is, will Bergeron get up to that outside? Because it does seem like it's got the advantage at the moment. Have a look at the run from Berkeley. Huge momentum there, running that outside line. He tried the slide job on Tim Ryan, but he takes the lead back right away. You can see that Berkeley does not want Ryan to run away with this. He's also probably thinking about Bergeron too.
Yeah, he probably is, and Berkeley's going to throw another slide job down into turn number 1, going to go to the high side on the exit of 2. Not quite going to have the momentum, but it was very close. So Berkeley really trying to set up the pass on the inside of Tim Ryan, and Ryan not getting that great of an exit. Are we going to see another one? Yes, we are. Of a slide job and contact between the two, but Berkeley's going to take the race lead.
Oh, and just keep it, maybe no. Ryan back through, and you see Jock Goodyear and Harry Stewart getting in on this as well. The problem with those flings that Joel Berkeley was having at Tim Ryan is it slowed them up. And now Jock Goodyear is going to come through to try and take the lead of this one. It is now a 4-way battle for the win in this feature. Ryan, Berkeley, Stewart, and Goodyear. This is fantastic.
Two slick teammates versus ODSE Esports versus United Esports. It's 4 heavyweights all going at it on dirt here, and Ryan's going to try the inside, and Berkeley's going to go back to the top side in 3 and 4, and it looks like he might just have enough to take the race lead.
Yeah, well, if he can hold that outside line, Ryan's stuck on the inside. He's not going to be able to get the run down the back stretch, or is he? He's just staying even with Berkeley at the moment. In terms of Alex Bergeron, he is back in 6th, and it looks like it's potentially going to be a 5th because he's fighting very hard with Bradley Oldfield for that top 5 position.
Yeah, he certainly is, but he's also charging up on that top side, running the cushion like Berkeley and Goodyear are at the moment. He's got massive pace because of it, so it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see him on the back of the likes of Tim Ryan and that in a few laps time, but the timer is ticking down, so he is running out of laps, so might be a top 5 at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's going to be 8 laps to go when they cross the line next. This has been a very fast event, to be sure. Joel Berkeley maintaining that lead, but Harry Stewart trying his best to hold off Alex Bergeron for that 4th place spot. You see Bergeron running the cushion again, getting that huge run onto the start-finish stretch. It amazes me how they managed to run it so close to the wall lap after lap. Have a look at Jock Goodyear as well, because he is trying for the lead there versus Joel Berkeley. They almost make contact, but Goodyear's going to have another lob at it.
Yeah, it was nearly contact between the two teammates, which probably wouldn't have gone down well in the team chat, but nevertheless, they're racing hard against each other. No team orders whatsoever, so really giving it 110%, but Bergeron is on an absolute mission. Last time by for Goodyear and Berkeley, 16-6, 16-5.
Caution.
Alex Bergeron, 16-4, and caution's out.
Bradley Oldfield on his side. He's found the wall in turn 1. That happened in the background there. We'll get a modem simulation replay of that, and it looks like those bumps on the groove really caught him out. Have a look at his exit onto the front stretch. This is the middle of the lap, but coming through turns 3 and 4 onto the front stretch, he gets a bit of a fishtail going, and he can't quite recover it. Gets into the wall, and once you're in there, the tires run up, and you're a passenger.
Pretty much the way it is. Once you get sucked into that concrete wall, there's no real way of recovering it without backing right off. So really unfortunate for Oldfield there, who did actually go quite well in round 1 and was looking at a pretty solid result in this round as well. So yeah, unfortunate for him, but nevertheless, that is one of the things of running that top side right up against the wall. It's a bit of risk versus reward, and unfortunately a little bit too much risk for Bradley Oldfield.
Well, he joins the list of retirements in this race, which include Daniel Hartigan, Lewis Hewitt, and Bob King as well. So shame for those guys, all with good amounts of pace under their bonnet. But that is dirt racing. That is how things go sometimes. It's a brutal sport in real life and in sim racing. Meanwhile, on the administration front, restarts have been changed to single file, so there's going to be possibly a bit less potential for disaster on what should be the final restart, but we know that it often doesn't work out that way.
No, it doesn't quickly, but look who is at nose to tail once again in the
Mhm.
feature race is Bergeron and Tim Ryan. This is going to get very very intense very quickly, and it wouldn't surprise me if things go a little bit too far once again.
Well, they're not fighting for the win this time. They're fighting for a podium position. But that's going to be Joel Berkeley running in the lead. Goodyear second, Ryan third, Bergeron in fourth. Bergeron still on that inside line. 3 laps to go then. This time by Jock Goodyear only just holding on to that outside. And Joel Berkeley, it seems, is pretty comfortable there. He's got the car where he wants it.
Yeah, he certainly does. Just running right up against that cushion lip, and also battle for the final podium
Ryan and
spot.
Bergeron.
Ryan and Bergeron is just edging ahead of Ryan at the moment with only 2 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting between those guys for the final podium spot. Jock Goodyear, it doesn't seem as facing much pressure from behind because these guys are battling way too hard. Final lap then. Can Jock Goodyear take the victory here from Joel Berkeley? He goes for the slide job. Can he park it on the outside? No, he can't. Joel Berkeley taking that run, and Alex Bergeron sneaking through on the inside. Jock Goodyear.
Contact!
Oh no! Berkeley! Berkeley has been taken out. Bergeron crosses the line in first. Or does he? Does Jock Goodyear cross the line in first? He does. And the caution flag comes out right at the end of the race, but my goodness. I mean, Jock Goodyear will obviously be happy with that, but I think a couple of guys will be a bit miffed.
Yeah, the likes of Tim and Berkeley will definitely not be pleased with that, to end up in an incident once again caused by Alex, especially for Tim to make it 2 weeks in a row. There won't be some choice words thrown around in the pits afterwards, I can tell you that for free.
Yeah, certainly. Well, here's the replay then of that final lap. Jock Goodyear on that outside line. You see Bergeron in the bottom left trying to get past Berkeley, but just gets into him in the last stage of the corner. The door shut, and there was nowhere for him to go. Unfortunate that that Tim Ryan got caught up in that as well. Let's see the view from Bergeron's perspective then. He tries throwing it up the inside. It's worth it to try and go for the victory, but he just pushed a bit too hard there, and Jock Goodyear very lucky to escape there.
Yeah, for sure. And amazingly, somehow, it was only just a miracle that Harry Stewart managed to get on the podium. So, yeah, it was unbelievable, the finish there across the line between the likes of Stewart and also Bergeron.
Well then, that was an incredible finish, and I'm still not quite sure how it ended up at the end of it. I do know that we do know that Jock Goodyear crossed the line in first place, and it looks like Bergeron managed to just get through there for second, but third is quite interesting. I think Harry Stewart might have just sneaked through there to take that final podium spot because Ryan and Berkeley were busy tumbling their way down the front stretch when Stewart came through. So it looks like your podium is going to be then Jock Goodyear, Alex Bergeron, and Harry Stewart.
Yes, indeed. That is indeed the correct order. And Berkeley only just somehow managed to edge Tim Ryan to 4th place, despite coming across the line upside down.
Yeah, my goodness, what a close one that was. Well, we await the driver interviews, and the top 3 will come in, and we'll have a bit of a chat to them, but man, that really sets things up for the championship going forward, doesn't it? With Bergeron finishing second, Tim Ryan only being able to manage 5th at the end there. That's going to mix things up at the top of the field, and Jock Goodyear is certainly going to get a boost too.
Yeah, certainly. It's mixed the championship up quite drastically. So, yeah, it's going to be quite fascinating to see what the points look like after this and who sits where, especially for the likes of Bergeron, who's possibly going to cop a penalty afterwards for that incident, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but we'll wait a couple more minutes for Jock Goodyear to come in, and then we'll have a chat to him about his surprising race victory there. I will say about Goodyear, he had quite a good amount of pace all race long, and he was in contention pretty much the whole way through. So it shows that consistency is key.
Yeah, it certainly is. And once again, 2 weeks in a 12-week season, just going to be all about racking up those points. Even if you just somehow by a miracle manage to score a lot of points. So, yeah, it's just really going to be all about keeping it out of that wall and just making sure you finish the races.
You know what? I think we'll do the top three on track in reverse. So we'll go for our third place finisher, Harry Stewart, first up. Harry, welcome to the commentary box. Not quite the way you expected to get a podium, I'm sure.
Oh, not at all. I was pretty happy with fifth, just with who was in front of me. So yeah, I was when I saw them wrecking, just heavens opened. I was happy as.
Well, it was certainly an interesting night for you. Coming through the heats, you did experience some difficulties. There was some interesting contact throughout the heats leading up to the feature, and it really exploded in the feature. Volusia turning it on for Carnage.
Yeah, I think the first green flag run we had was pretty good, and then I think Bob and Alex got together, and I ran into the back of them, but I didn't think I had anywhere to go. I tried to lift, but yeah, it was really good fun. Enjoyed it a lot.
Well, you were in sixth in the drivers' standings coming into this one with a podium that's certainly going to elevate you. I reckon you'll, at the very least, leapfrog Joel Berkeley and Bradley Oldfield. So, overall, a profitable night for you.
Yeah, I'm not Yeah, it was pretty good. Not really looking at points yet. Just trying to see how it goes. Just aiming for a top five at the end of it with the people who's doing the series. But yeah, very happy.
Well, with pace and form like that, I think a top five is definitely on the cards. Before we let you go, Harry, shout outs and sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
Everyone at United Sim Sports, Ultimate Dirt TV. Hold on, I forgot them. Valvoline, Too Easy Finance, West End Mazda, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, and everyone who's in Discord tonight helping out. It was really good.
Excellent
you.
stuff. Harry Stewart there, your third place finisher, and quite the interesting way to get a podium. Meanwhile, we see our second place finisher, Alex Bergeron, jump into the box here. Cam, let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, certainly. Interesting finish there in the end for Alex, and you can't really complain with a second place and a bag full of points.
Yeah, for sure. Tough finish for sure. Berkeley there. I was just trying to run the ball like I did every single lap of the feature. So, just last lap running for a win there. I was just running the bottom smoothly, and Berkeley missed the bottom, and I had the shot there. So I was just running the bottom smoothly, and soon I was in the spot, he came down on me, and I lifted last second, but it was already too late. So I can't really do anything about that. He missed the bottom and went back low, and I was there. So, I don't think there was anything I could do there. So, other than that, the whole feature, we started 13, I think. I went all the way up to top five, and fell back to almost dead last there after that incident. So, and we all the way made it back to second there on the last lap. So, I think we had a good car for sure, and the future was interesting.
Yeah, it certainly was. And with Eldora next on the calendar for the third round of the season, there, you're looking forward to it, and what sort of a possibly seeing will possibly happen?
Eldor is always a good track for 360s. I think it's gonna be a good show. Hopefully the top is not too dominant, and we can see good racing.
Well, before we let you go, just any shouts, thanks you want to give?
Team ABR, Jason Nygaard, Rebecca, everyone that supports us, CSI Shocks, BitLogic app, BK Designs, Myring Farm Equipments, all the other partners as well, all the fans out there for tuning in. You guys for broadcasting an awesome job, and Brady for putting this league up.
Alex.
Well, there you have it. Second place finisher, Reese.
Yes, indeed, and we'll have a chat then to the guy who came off worst in that incident at the very end, Joel Berkeley. Joel, welcome to the commentary box, and our commiserations to you. It was quite a good run from you, holding off that lead, battling well with Tim Ryan, but all going wrong at the end.
Yeah, I guess we had a good race for 29 3/4 laps until someone decided they want to make a gap that wasn't there and wreck our race. And yeah, good job. I guess that's a good way to be a world champ.
Yeah, well, Bergeron already on record as regretting that incident in our interview with him, but obviously that's something that you guys are going to sort out amongst yourselves afterwards. But nonetheless, it was a negative end to the night for you, Joel, but still, you showed that you have the pace, and especially at a track like Volusia, where it's so difficult to get that line right, especially when the track gets slick and there's a very narrow line up the top. It's an insanely difficult circuit.
No, it is a really difficult track. It's cool to run up front with Alex and Tim. Like, I'm not contesting the Pro Series this year. It's just nice when I can to run laps. And well, yeah, I guess some people don't like being beat, but it is what it is. And I can't really race the points in this series either, as I'm going away to WA. So I was just here to rock up and do the best I can. And I felt we had a solid result, but at least Jock got the win. Not the car that wrecked me. So yeah.
All right. Well, nonetheless, fourth place, albeit tumbling through the air, Joel. And it is a shame that you're not going to be able to make it for much of the season, but still, it'd be good to see you out on the track at some point in the future. Before we let you go, man, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yeah, hopefully I run as many races as I can, but yeah, real life commitments are going to come first. But yeah, it's a massive thanks to the guys at Slick Sim Sport, everyone else, or everyone that helps out there. They put in a massive effort. We're just doing what we can, plotting away where there's some of us doing Sprintcar Pro in the coming weeks, and hopefully I can help out where I can to try and get them as good as we can. And there's some of us qualifying for late model pro, so hopefully we can go there and upset the current world champ and take to us.
Excellent stuff. Joel Berkeley, their fourth place finisher. And that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, Cam, because our race winner, Jock Goodyear, has decided to go to bed, and I don't blame him. That would have been a very tough job for him.
Yeah, it certainly would have had his work cut out there, fighting the whole way through to end up taking the race win. So yeah, not surprised that he has gone to bed, but nevertheless, really good night of racing, and yeah, can't wait for Eldora.
Yep, and that is the subject of next week. Same time, Thursday night, we're going to be racing at Eldora. It's going to be a super fun one. Looking forward to that one. Eldora is the king of speedways, and it's certainly going to be fun to watch a bunch of 360 sprint cars wheeling around there. A big thanks to all of our partners that you can see on the screen here. It was awesome to put on this event. A big thanks to ODSE for putting all of this together, and a big thanks to our title sponsor for this event, Super F Series Spares, parts and accessories for Ford F Series trucks. That was the Super F Spares Autumn Nationals from Volusia. Your race winner at the end of it, Jock Goodyear. I'm Reese Gardner. That was Cam Dance in the booth with me, and Jay Kennedy on cameras. From all of us at SimSpeed TV, it's bye for now, but not forever.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh
here.
my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?